Krishna.
Okay, I'll read verse 79.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Let us first begin with our prayers.
Ji.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Chapter 29, text 79.
Ji.
Atastad apavadat artham bhaja sarvatmana harim pashyam stad atmakam vishvam sthiti utpati apaya ya yata. Translation. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Purport. Self-realization, understanding oneself as Brahman or spirit soul, is very difficult in the material condition. However, if we accept the devotional service of the Lord will gradually reveal himself. In this way, the progressive devotee will gradually realize his spiritual position. We cannot see anything in the darkness of night, not even our own selves. But when there is sunshine, we can not only see the sun, but everything within the world as well. Lord Krishna explains in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 7.1. Mai asakta manapartha yogam yunjan vadashraya asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasyasi tatshunu. Now here, O son of Pritha, Arjun, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. When we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord to become Krishna conscious, we understand not only Krishna, but everything related to Krishna. In other words, through Krishna consciousness, we can understand not only Krishna and the cosmic manifestation, but also our constitutional position. In Krishna consciousness, we can understand the entire material creation is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maintained by Him, annihilated by Him, and absorbed in Him. We are also part and parcel of the Lord. Everything is under the control of the Lord, and therefore our only duty is to surrender unto the Supreme and engage in His transcendental loving service. Okay. So in this verse, translation, it's saying that we should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. And to be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. So actually, the Lord has given us such a simple thing that just by engaging in his devotional service, we come to know everything. So we really don't have to do anything much like the Gyanis and the Yogis, who by their own endeavor are trying so hard to understand what the absolute truth is, how this universe has come into being, how it is created, how it is maintained, how is it annihilated, what is the absolute truth behind it. So they are trying very hard using their own endeavor. But actually, the Lord has made it so simple. He says that just perform devotion unto me, and gradually you will come to know everything. So the Lord, through the scriptures that He's given, through His devotees, through the acharyas, He gives us all the information. Our thing is just to put a little faith in it and then practice devotional service, and the rest of the things will be revealed themselves. So, and thus everything related to the Lord and the paraphernalia I mean, everything in this material and spiritual world is very easily revealed. Hare Krishna. Yes. Anybody want to add anything?
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, come.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, actually, Mother, if we can say, means actually 9 distinct process of devotional services are given. So I can understand it is said, means if somebody on its own, if try to realize the Brahman or spiritual soul position, it will be difficult for him. But our Acharya and our Parampara has given, means like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving Lord, deity worship, praying, and various 9 ways they have given, in which if we do devotional service, then gradually, means from Kanishta, Madhyam to higher level, means we can elevate, and then realization of Brahman or God realization or moving towards Krishna consciousness will become easier. So because in devotional service, these are the ways which we need to follow, and slowly we can realize, and slowly we can understand by following the principles and the ways which are given by our Acharya, hearing, chanting, remembering, and serving.
Yes, exactly.
Because slowly only, means if somebody will try to realize, means like yogis and others are doing artificially, they are trying to meditate and restrain their senses, and they try to focus on some void or something. Then artificially, if we try, it will become very difficult, and any kind of realization will be either it will be very slow, or only part realization we can observe. But the beauty of devotional service is that the process is given so beautifully and scientifically that it's a gradual process. If we first, like if we try to hear from elevated souls and elevated devotees, by hearing our, means senses will be purified, our heart will be converted, it will be purified. Then we start chanting, and by listening our chanting, we get more interest. So, and then the service start, like serving the lotus feet of Lord, deity worship, praying to Lord. So slowly the process will go on, and it will be easier in that way. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Can move to next to us.
Text 80.
Hare Krishna. Text 80. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya
Maitreya
Uvacha.
Uvacha.
Bhagavata Mukhyo Bhagavan.
Bhagavata Mukhyo Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
Narado Hansayor Gatim.
Narado Hamshayo
Gatim.
Pradarshya Hya Amum Amantre.
Pradashya Ayum Amantraya.
Amantraya.
Siddha Lokam Tato Gamat.
Siddha Lokam Tato Gamat.
Yes. Yes, please.
Thank you. Translation. The great says Maitreya continued. The supreme devotee, the great saint Narada, thus explained to King Prachin Bhari the constitutional position of Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. After giving an invitation to the king, Narad Muni left to return to Siddhaloka. But Siddhaloka and Brahmaloka are both within the same planetary system. Brahmaloka is understood to be the highest planet within the universe. Siddhaloka is considered to be one of the satellites of Brahmaloka. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka have all the powers of yogic mysticism. From this verse, it appeared that the great sage Narada Narada is an inhabitant of Siddhaloka. Although he traveled to all the planetary system, all the residents of Siddhaloka are spacemen and they can travel in space without mechanical help. The residents of Siddhaloka can go from one planet to another individually by virtue of their yogic perfection. After getting instruction to the great king, Prachinamati, Narada Muni departed and also invited him to Siddhaloka. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So it appears that Narad Muni is a resident of Siddhaloka, although he travels to all the planetary systems. So as we have seen previously also, third canto, that the planets above Swargalok, Maharalok, Taplok, Janalok, Siddhalok, these planets are practically as good as spiritual planets, because the living entities residing in these planets are practically liberated entities. They're in daily communion with the Supreme Lord. They are engaging in devotional activities. So they are practically pure devotional. And at the end of this creation, they generally go back to Godhead, as we see. So there is like Satyalok, the planet of Lord Brahma. There's Janlok, Taplok. So these living entities, when Pralaya, when the causal ocean is rising, these living entities, Garbhodak Sagar, when it is rising, these living entities, they ascend to the planet of Lord Brahma in their airplanes. And eventually, at the end of this creation, they go back to Godhead. So Narad Muni comes from one of these planets. So you can see what is the consciousness of living entities in these planets. So Narad Muni gave instructions to Prachina Barhi, and then he left for this place. Now, very interesting point is, the sadhu does not hang around. The sadhu, even though he is greatly compassionate for the living entities, he's not attached. So as soon as the instructions are given, he moves on. He does not maintain. So this is like a lesson to all those who are preaching also, that one should not maintain any attachment. You may be preaching to so many people. You should be compassionate to them. You should definitely take anxiety for their welfare, but at the same time, you should not waste your time on them. Like so many times we see that preachers, they start, like Prabhupada used to say, that one should not just preach, and eat and sleep and just, depend on his followers. So if one just simply hangs around, okay, what will happen to my followers, then one will also fall down. In reality, one should always try to maintain his detachment. Like Srila Prabhupada also, he was preaching and then he was moving on. Whoever is intelligent, Yajanti Sumedasha, will take the message immediately. If in spite of you giving so much of association, one is not taking the message, then you should understand that the person is not interested. So therefore, you should move on. And in any case, if someone has taken the message, then also you should move on, because there is no need for you to be there. So this is the example we understand from these great souls, that they are not waiting on their followers to see what is going on. Not that Narad Muni is waiting to see whether Prachina Barhisha takes sannyas and becomes a self-liberated soul or not. No, he has given the instruction. If the king is intelligent, he will take it. If he's not intelligent, well, too bad. But in any case, we don't wait. Like Srila Prabhupada, after 1970 or so, he hardly ever went back to New York. Even though New York was the very beginning of his mission and he did so many things there, but Prabhupada did not go. In 1977, he did promise that he would go to New York, but then he never went there. He just went up to London. His health was not so good, so he came back. So that is how we have to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Rahul Prabhu. Yeah.
Prabhuji, here it is mentioned that Narad Muni departed and also invited him to Siddhaloka. So what we can understand means why he is invited to Siddhaloka, for more preaching, or means what we can understand will be the purpose.
See, Siddhaloka is a planet of all Siddhas. What you can say, accomplished souls. They're liberated souls, definitely. See, one does not go back to Godhead so easily. Going back to Godhead is not a joke. One has to pass through many lifetimes. One has to acquire so many learnings. One has to become completely detached from all materialistic misconceptions. And that takes a very long time. And here we see especially that Maharaj Prachina Varishat is very much attached to his home and family and so many things. So Narad Muni is inviting him to Siddhalok to take more devotee association. So he says, you please come, don't waste your time. So as soon as he leaves this body, he'll go to the planet of Siddhas.
So we can understand Prabhuji like this means Narad Muni already know that he is an elevated soul and he has the potential to preach. So means he, for those people who understand their place and realization, they can call for, means like immediately he started inviting him to Siddhaloka, means he should leave everything apart and accompany him.
Yeah. So in the next verse, we will see what Maharaj does.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, could this mean that he, like Narad Muni, is indirectly telling him to qualify himself to come to Siddhaloka, to do whatever is?
Of course, one cannot just go like that. Like I'm sitting here, if I say, please come to Finland. So I'm not saying that I'll just pack you in a bag and I'll take you to Finland. What I'm saying is you apply for a visa, fulfill the conditions, apply for a visa, come.
Yeah, means that is what he means when he says he invited him.
Yeah. So qualify yourself and come. Because he's the spiritual master, so his desire is as good as the desire of the Lord. But he'll still need to purify himself. Yes, Ananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. As you mentioned while explaining that how Srila Prabhupada maintained the detachment, even in spite of he was so compassionate and always concerned about his followers. So now this is about the preacher. So what about a follower's expectation? Like if he expects or he is depending on his spiritual master. So what is the association like? Because many times this question comes, like even in present day, many of like our Prabhupada disciples, they are not able to meet us. Our spiritual masters, we are unable to meet. I mean, in true sense, we have never met personally, and now in the future also, meeting personally may be very difficult. So how do we understand when we compare it to how Prabhupada managed, or how elevated devotees like Narad Muni manage? So when it is that personal association is very much required, and when is that association may not be there, but the instruction is sufficient enough?
See, this is a bit controversial topic, but anyhow, now that you asked the question, so answer should be given. See, whenever there is opportunity, the sadhu should meet. Sadhu should not make it a policy not to meet. That is also attachment. So, like Srila Prabhupada, when he had the time, he was meeting disciples. When he was completely busy with translation and traveling, then he was not meeting. Not that Prabhupada was waiting in some room and putting 10 guards not to allow anyone inside. So it was not like that. And see, besides, you see, Acharya means by one's own acharana. So he must give instruction. And as far as ISKCON is concerned, certainly the Shiksha Guru is Srila Prabhupada, his Param Guru. It's the duty of every spiritual master within ISKCON to connect the disciples to Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, the parampara will break down. And Srila Prabhupada instructed as such. You can see it in the GBC notes, the GBC resolutions, you can see that. So, and anyhow, whose Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are we discussing? We're not discussing this Swami or that Swami's commentary. We're discussing what Srila Prabhupada has given. And that is the instruction given by every sannyasi in ISKCON also. Or every grahastha or anyone who's initiating people. So certainly there is no harm in associating directly with Srila Prabhupada through his books. Initiation is a formality of connecting you with the parampara. But don't take it so seriously that you neglect Srila Prabhupada. Like sometimes I see, like many, like we had one devotee in our group also. He took initiation and immediately stopped reading Bhagavatam. So this is kind of sentimental nonsense. Okay, I will listen to my Guru Maharaj. Well, what are you going to listen? Is any Guru Maharaj giving complete commentaries on Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita? Then you should listen. But if not, then you should study Srila Prabhupada. I mean, you should listen to your spiritual master, but you should study the books also. There's no point in listening to spiritual master and then neglecting the scriptures. That is sentimental nonsense. And then one will completely stop his progress. One will hover on mental platform and eventually fall down. So if there is no association, you are associating with Srila Prabhupada directly. So what's the problem? If you get association of spiritual master, take it. If you're not getting it, no need to lament. You are associating with Srila Prabhupada. So I know there is some kind of sentimental, sayings in our movement that, you should not talk about Prabhupada directly, or you should listen to Prabhupada through his disciples, or that, if you talk of Prabhupada, then you are some Ritvik or something. So all that is sentimental nonsense. Usually there is some hidden agenda, somebody wants donations, somebody wants money, so they tell you, they stop you. They'll teach you Bhagavad Gita for 500 rupees or Bhagavatam for 12,000 rupees. So all that is some cheating business. So it may sound good to those who are completely ignorant people. For those who are learned, they should be more cautious. I mean, we are all educated people. Shouldn't be behaving like this. We are not followers of Asaram Bapu or Baba Ram Rahim or something. They are uneducated, illiterate sort of people, those who come to those places, those who go to those places. But educated people should be more thoughtful. So you should study. Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Adi, Pancharatra Vidhim Vina, Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpata Eva Kalpate. So if you are simply attending some lecture, oh, I like this Maharaj, I am attending the lecture, but are you studying the Gita? No, Prabhu, I don't have the time. Then you are no better than a follower of Asaram Bapu or something. Only hovering on mental platform, and eventually you will fall down. You may be a big engineer or doctor or something, but if you have no Shastric basis, then you are nonsense. So does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, quite to an extent. And how about understanding this statement which you said that you answered it also. When there was time, Prabhupada used to give sufficient time, and then when time was not there, then definitely he could not meet, or he could not go to those centers occasionally like before.
Yeah, I agree, Prabhu. Yamuna Mataji, Hayagri, Prabhu, Kirtanand Swami, Prabhupada gave them 6 to 7 hours also. Like sometimes Prabhupada would sit whole day and talk to them. So not that Prabhupada was sitting saying, hey, I am a spiritual master, I want to talk to you. It wasn't like that.
Got it, Prabhuji. It is that maturity for the disciple is also required, that he can understand that there is so much of preaching activity that Guru has doing. So definitely he should not be careless of his appointments with his Guru. He should be first following the instructions very sincerely, and then definitely if he has certain clarification, then only he should aspire to meet Guru.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The disciple should be mature. The Guru should also be compassionate.
Not just a mere sentiment that, oh, I met Guru today, I saw him, it was so nice, and all those stuff. That is nice sentiment, but what is the principle behind the meeting? That is very important.
Yeah, the principle is important. Everything else otherwise just some sentiment. So meeting Guru means you should have something, some relevant. Prabhupada says, absurd inquiries should not be made.
But any Shastric doubts can be asked, right, when opportunity is given.
Absolutely, you should. Absolutely, that's what spiritual master is for. When you meet your professor, you ask him questions. I mean, you won't meet your physics professor and ask him something about politics. You will talk to him about physics. So when you meet spiritual master, you should discuss about Krishna.
True, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So text 81.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I please ask a question?
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, you mentioned that Siddha Loka, their consciousness is, you can see how Narad Muni is. So if the consciousness is that pure, why they are going through a circle, first Siddha Loka, then to Brahma Loka, and then when the creation is done, then to probably go Loka? If the
Yeah.
consciousness is that pure,
Hmm.
why not associating with Krishna there?
It takes
Why
time.
are they not associated? मतलब
See,
कि
going back-
consciousness is not pure then?
ना अभी इतना नहीं है, टाइम लगेगा थोड़ा सा.
Hmm.
You think it's so easy to establish a relationship with Krishna?
I wish. No, I get it, but I'm just wondering if Narad Muni is living in Siddha Loka, we can imagine Narad Muni is a pure devotee.
Yeah, so it takes time. It will take a lot of effort. So we should not think that it's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
So it will take many births for us also.
Mm-hmm. True. And
Many
also one
births.
more. Sorry, go ahead.
Many births and much purification of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
See, think of it this way, like, when you wake up one day and you realize that you are indifferent to sex life,
Mm-hmm.
then you're on the level of a Siddha. Indifferent, you don't like it, you don't dislike it. It just doesn't exist for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the level of a Siddha, one who has become free from that attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Then comes further purification, then more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Nishtha, Ruchi, Bhav, Prem, all this will take much long time.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the very sadhana stage.
So where would we consider Siddha Loka people?
Siddhaloka is just below Brahmaloka. I mean, below Satyaloka, the planet of Lord Brahma.
But when we say Narad Muni is living there or Narad Muni stays there, Narad Muni is associating with Krishna.
Yes.
He's a pure devotee. He's a acharya.
Yes.
So then how do we understand the consciousness is not that pure?
Narad Muni is a preacher. I mean, Srila Prabhupada was with us. Was he like us?
No.
So that's Narad Muni for you. Like someone can say, hey, Srila Prabhupada was born in India. He was born in Calcutta. He was a Bengali. Yes, very true. All of that is true. But Srila Prabhupada was not bound by that condition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a devotee has to appear somewhere. Prabhupada had to appear somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He could have appeared in South India. He could have appeared in North India, but he chose to appear in Bengal. Krishna chose that he appears in Bengal.
Mm-hmm.
But Prabhupada is not bound by the conception of Bengal.
Mm-hmm.
So Siddhaloka, Narad Muni is not bound to the concept of Siddhaloka. He is traveling and preaching.
Thank you, Ji. And also, if we look at the instructions that are given to Prateen Gargi, that surrender, leave all this mental concoction and surrender. These are when Dhruv Maharaj was in the same situation, Dhruv Maharaj was told to surrender too. He said, if you're so much concerned about honor and dishonor, you should know about surrendering too. So then, the difference between the two, why is Prachin Barhi, who is so much into fructive activities, is being invited to Siddha Loka, whereas Dhruv Maharaj, who is a child, and we know child's consciousness is a little bit pure than once we are grown up. So why was he not invited, or something like that was not given to him?
Oh, he was given his own planet.
No, I mean instruction wise, that after Dhruv Maharaj purified himself and did a lot. So jab instruction di, why the instruction was, the instruction that was given to Dhruv Maharaj didn't say, okay, inviting you to Siddhalok.
See, different devotees have different consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you see, Dhruv Maharaj still had some attachment to his mother, Suniti. That's why he said, that I can't go to spiritual world without my mother, Suniti.
Yes.
So you see different consciousness. So different activities, and sometimes it is just the will of the devotee. I mean, Narad Muni is as good as Krishna. It is his desire.
ठीक है जी, ठीक है जी, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Any other questions? Okay, then we continue. Text 81. Prachina Barhi Rajarshi.
Prachina Barhi Rajarshi.
Praja Sarga Virakshane.
Sarga-sarga-virakshane.
Virakshane.
Adishya Putranagamat.
Adishya Putranagamat.
Tapase Kapilashramam.
Tapase Kapilashramam. May I
Yes,
read,
please.
Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Translation. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prachin Bari left orders for his son to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerity in the holy place known as Kapilashrama. Purport. The word Praja Sarga is very important in this verse. When a saintly king Prachin Barhi was induced by the great sage Narad to leave home and take the devotional service of the Lord, his sons had not yet returned from their austerities in the water. However, he did not wait for their return, but simply left messages to the effect that his sons were to protect the mass of the citizens. According to Raghva Acharya, such protection means organizing the citizens into a specific division of 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. It was the responsibility of the royal order to see what the citizens were following the regulative principles of the 4 varnas, namely Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the ashrama, namely Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. It is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing this Varnashrama Dharma. To rule the mass of the citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in a legislative assembly. The Varnashrama Dharma is essential in a good government. One class of men, the Brahmanas, must be intelligent and Brahmanically qualified. Another class must be trained in administrative work, Kshatriya, another in mercantile work, Vaishya, and another simply in labor, Shudra. These 4 classes of men are already there according to nature, but it is the government's duty to see that all 4 of these classes follow the principles of their varnas methodically, and this is called abhirakshana, or protection. It is significant that when Maharaj Prachin Barhi was convinced of the goal of life through the instructions of Narad, he did not wait even for a moment to see his sons return, but left immediately. There were many things to be done upon the return of his sons, but he simply left them a message. He knew what his prime duty was. He simply left the instructions for his son and went off for the purpose of spiritual advancement. This is the system of Vedic civilization. Sridhar Swami informs us that Kapil Ashram is located at the confluence of Ganga and the Bay of Bengal, a place known as Ganga Sagar. This place is still famous as a place of pilgrimage, and many millions of people gather there every year on the day of Makar Sankranti and take part. It is called Kapil Ashram because of Lord Kapila's living there to perform his austerities and penances. Lord Kapila propounded the Sankhya system of philosophy. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, very interesting. The saintly king Prachina Barhi left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining both these points here. One is leaving the instructions for the sons, and the second is leaving home. So essentially this whole purport is of explaining these 2 points here. So Prachina Barhi Rajarshi Praja Sarga Bhirakshane. Praja Sarga, that is to the mass of the citizens, Abhirakshane, their protection. So how are they to be protected? Maharaj Prachina Barhi definitely must have had an army. There must be ministers. There must be a minister of defense. Must be a leader of the army, Senapati. So there must be many things. But what is the meaning of this Praja Sarge Abhirakshane? What this means is organizing them in such a manner that they go back to Godhead. I mean, anyone can protect his Praja. Even Ravana was protecting his Rakshas Praja. But that protection is not really protection. Protection means protecting from the cycle of birth and death. Physical death, anyone can protect. And actually, no one can protect. Because death will eventually come. But real protection means from the material nature itself. So organizing them in Varnashram. Srila Prabhupada also emphasized organized Varnashram. Prabhupada always, last instruction was the process of Varnashram will protect the general masses from the ill effects of Kali. So Srila Prabhupada's great desire was to see Varnashram being organized. Never happened, that's another story. But without Varnashram, there is no question of devotion really. So living in some city apartments, getting married and giving birth to children, that is not Grahastha Ashram. That is mainly Grahamedhi. Because there is just sex attraction there. Because one is working like a donkey day and night, and then one is raising children who are atheistic. One is greedily organizing, one is participating in so many sinful activities like share market and so many things. Then one cannot be a devotee. Grahastha Ashram means a Varnashram. That there must be an organization of the four Varnas in such a manner that everyone gets a chance to progress in spiritual life. So Maharaj Prachina Barhi left those instructions for his sons. How to organize the society along the lines of Varnashram. That is one thing. And then the second thing is, he left home immediately. Then he did not wait. Okay, my sons will come back. I will say goodbye. I will hug them. I'll wish them luck. No. Renunciation means renunciation. Then no one cares. So Maharaj Prachina Barhi was also just saying this as a matter of dharma. As a compassionate devotee, he was organizing this Varnashram. Otherwise, he was completely detached after hearing the instructions of Narad Muni. And as soon as his instructions to his ministers were complete, Maharaj Prachina Barhi left immediately. He did not wait. He did not hang around to see what was going to happen. So that is detachment. That he no longer considered the kingdom to be his or him belonging to this nation or anything. He just left. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments?
Okay, Prabhuji, my observation is on the last briefing. Last text, you were just, I think last line you made observation. That Naradji is as good as Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji, what did you mean by that? Because we have been told that even Shiva and Brahma should not be equated with Krishna.
That way.
So what about the spirit? You must have told in certain spirit this observation. But
Yes.
then I wanted to know about it.
Yeah, Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastra. Because Narad Muni is a spiritual master. He's a guru.
Okay.
So guru is always as good as Krishna.
Acha.
Because Narad Muni is always talking about Krishna. He's always giving the information of Krishna.
True.
So that is why he's almost as good as Krishna.
Good. I got his spirit. Good his spirit.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we take one last verse for the day. Tatra kagra manadhiro. Govinda charanambujam. Vimukta sango nu bhajan. Bhaktya tat samyatam agat.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Oh, go ahead, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. Translation. Having undergone austerities and penance at Kapila Ashram, King Prachinvari attained full liberation from all material designation. He constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and attained a spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. There is a special significance in the word Tat Samyatam Agat. The king attained the position of possessing the same status or the same form as that of the Lord. This definitely proves that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a person. In his impersonal feature, he is the rays of his transcendental body. When a living entity attains spiritual perfection, he also attains the same type of body known as Satchidanand Vigraha. The spiritual body never mixed with the material element. Although in conditioned life, the living entity is surrounded by material elements, earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and ego. He remains always aloof from them. In other words, the living entity can be liberated from the material condition at any moment, provided that he wishes to do so. The material environment is called Maya according to Krishna. Devai Isha Gunmai Mam Maya Duratya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Itam Tarantite. The divine energy of mind consists of three modes of material nature. It is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. As soon as the living entity engages in transcendental loving service of Lord, he immediately attains freedom from all material condition. Sa gunam samayatan brahma bhutena kalpate. In the material state, the living entity is on the Jiva Bhuta platform, but when he renders devotional service to the Lord, he is elevated to the Brahma Bhuta platform. On the Brahma Bhuta platform, the living entity is liberated from material bondage and he engages in the service of Lord. In this verse, the word Hira is sometimes read as Vira. Actually, there is not very much different. The word Hira means sober and Vira means hero. One who is struggling against Maya is a hero, and one who is sober enough to understand his position is the Hira. Without becoming sober or heroic, one cannot attain spiritual salvation. Thank you, Rosie. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, having undergone austerities and penances at Kapilashram, King Prachinavarhi attained full liberation from all material designations. He constantly engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord and attained a spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Tat Samyatam Agat. See, Supreme Person is a person, definitely. So, he's not some kind of conception, not some idea. So the living entity can also attain a position similar to the Lord, but not the same. So as soon as the living entity is liberated from material conditionings, which means ahankar, one attains the position known as liberation. So, but this can only happen by the mercy of the Lord. Actually, the non-devotees, the impersonalists or the meditators, yogis, they can attain up to Brahman. But from Brahman again, there is a fall down. Because up to Brahman, one can go through one's own efforts. Of course, there is sanction of the Lord, but it is mainly one's own effort. But beyond that, if one wants to know the Supreme Lord, one has to have the mercy. Mama evaya prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Those who surrender to me, them I deliver from material nature. Otherwise, even in Brahman, these living entities will exist and then eventually fall down. How? We know this from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, actually. So today one devotee was asking me a question about this liberation in Brahman. So this is the answer. That even from Brahman, living entity can fall down. The original fall down of the living entity takes place from Brahman. One is not playing with Krishna one day and the next day suddenly he's fallen into this material world. It doesn't happen like that. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that the fall down takes place gradually. From Krishna Lok to Mathura, Mathura to Vaikuntha, from Vaikuntha to Brahman, and Brahman to material world. As Ahankar becomes stronger and stronger, as one's desires keep on changing, one can easily fall down. In fact, Srila Prabhupada explained that even gopis can fall down. But they don't, but they can. Anyone can fall down. No one is safe anywhere. As soon as the little independence is misused, one falls down. When Krishna says, Maya Mamapetya punarjanam dukhalayam ashashrutam napnuvanti mahatmanah samsiddhim paramam gata. What Srila Prabhupada explains is, once the living entity has experienced this material world, and then he goes back to spiritual world, then he never comes back here. Because he retains the memories and he never wants to come back to experience this. So as soon as one delivers himself to spiritual world, one never wants to come back. So to attain bhakti of the Lord, then one can transcend this stage of Brahman and attain the Vaikuntha Lokas. Otherwise, one will remain in Brahman as a liberated soul. But as soon as any desire arises in the heart, one will fall down into material world once again. And this fall down will take place gradually. One will fall to the position of Brahma, Indra, Chandra, like that, and gradually fall down. But fall down, it will be nonetheless. So there is Jiva Bhuta platform, there is Brahma Bhuta platform. So Jiva Bhuta platform is in which we are right now, and we are aiming to attain the Brahma Bhuta platform. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments here?
Just a comment, Prabhuji. That means when we fall down, when we initially fell down to the material world, that can be considered as a blessing of Krishna too. Because just to kill various hankering that we kept on getting again and again. He wanted to teach us a lesson that ek baar seekh lo, you will never hanker for this kind of learning again.
Right? Yes. The whole Maya is here just to teach us a lesson.
And also one more question, but it's not from this verse. The verse is 69. Yeah, please. So 69, Hanji. Wahan pe hai, in the purport it says, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. When a person is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, his stockpile of material desires is minimized. Indeed, the desires no longer fructify in the form of gross bodies. Instead, the stockpile of desires become visible on the mental platform by the grace of Supreme Personality of Godhead. I don't understand this last line, Prabhuji. Instead, the stockpile of desire.
Very simple. Like, you just see everything in your dreams and your desires are fulfilled and you're done. Like, for example, let me just give you a very crude example. Suppose you want to drive a Formula 1 car. So Krishna will manifest that in your dream, and then it will be finished. You won't have to undergo like some physical labor to attain that desire and then become free from it. You will fulfill it in the dream and you will be done.
So for those people, for those who are fully in Krishna consciousness, that means this is how their desires are brought to zero or minimized.
See, those who are fully in Krishna conscious platform, they don't have these such desires. But those who are struggling very hard, Krishna will just fulfill it this way. See, Krishna knows that these souls do not desire any more independence from me. Like, why are we here? No, like, for example, let me give you one very practical example here. You know, in the West, children leave their homes at 18. Why? Because they just want to enjoy some independence. Which literally means they just want to enjoy some sex life independently. So they leave their home, they'll stay in apartments, they'll work hard like animals, and then they'll live their independent lives. Okay. Now, so living entity also falls into material world like that. We want to enjoy illicit desires. These are illicit desires. Okay, so we want to enjoy, so we come here. Now suppose we realize that we don't want to be here anymore. Then Krishna understands that he still has some desires left, but he doesn't want independence for those desires. He doesn't want to be independent of me anymore, but he has some remnants of desires left in his heart. See, Krishna is merciful. You have a desire, you ask your father. Father will fulfill it. So the devotee asks, akama sarva kamava moksha kamudarati tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. A devotee who is not in the pure platform understands that his desires are illicit. So he begs Krishna for those. So, my dear Lord, you fulfill those. Like you see Kardam Muni. Kardam Muni, he pleased the Lord. But he wanted to enjoy family life means he wanted to enjoy sex life.
Mhm.
So he desired that from the Supreme Lord, and the Lord understood. Lord understood that he has this desire, but he doesn't want it independent of me. He wants me in this. So he arranged for Devahuti. So you see, the same pastime of the Lord can be seen from so many perspectives.
Mm.
So Lord mercifully arranged. He knew Kardam Muni wanted a wife. So that's all right. But Kardam Muni did not want to let go of the Lord.
Mm. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hari
I've
Hari.
never thought of Kardam Muni to read through this angle. Thank you, Ji.
Hari Hari.
Hare
So
Krishna.
keep
Ji.
studying Bhagavatam, everything will become
Mhm.
clear.
Mhm. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, when you say that the desires are fulfilled in the dreams by the Lord, but does a person feel satisfied after such? I mean, he's not actually experienced that.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Sorry, I think my connection broke. Yeah.
Did you hear, or should I repeat?
Yeah, please repeat. I couldn't hear.
No, you said that the Lord fulfills the desires in the dreams. So when, I mean, does a person feel fulfilled and satisfied by such fulfillment in the dreams? Because he has not actually experienced that.
Well, exposure on a mental platform is the same as exposure on a physical platform. Because the yogi is always striving for purification. So a little bit of satisfaction is enough for the yogi.
And one more thing, Prabhuji, you said that we aim for the Brahma Bhuta platform. We are aiming. But how do we understand? Actually, we are aiming to go to the spiritual world, that is Golok Vrindavan. So this Brahma Bhuta platform, we are aiming while we are in the material world. That is how we understand.
See, Brahma Bhuta platform is spiritual platform.
But you can still attain it while you are in the material world also.
Yeah. Anyone. That's your Jivan Mukta.
So, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Hari Hari. Haribol. So we stop here. Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.